I'm Charisse LeClaire. The September 9th primary is right around the corner, and we want you to be informed. CBS 3 Springfield, The Republican, MassLive.com, and New England Public Radio have joined together to bring you a detailed look at the candidates running for public office. Now here's the Republicans' Robert-rizzuto to introduce us to candidates running for office here in Western Massachusetts.
Hello and thank you for joining us for this edition of the 2014 Campaign Roundtable Series. I'm politics reporter Robert-rizzuto, and before we meet the candidates today, I'd like to introduce you to our panel of journalists who will be contributing. We have from the Republicans editorial team, Chief Editorial Writer Ron Chamelis and the Director of Reader Engagement, Rob Genest. Gentlemen, thank you very much. And to my left, we have the three Democratic candidates running to be the next Lieutenant Governor of Massachusetts. First to my left here is Steve Kerrigan. Steve is the president of the Massachusetts Military Heroes Fund and a former aide to the late Senator Ted Kennedy. To his left is Mike Lake. He is the CEO of the Boston-based nonprofit Leading Cities and a former special assistant to the White House, former special assistant to White House operations under President Bill Clinton.
It's a long title.
And to his left, we have Leland Cheung. He is a Cambridge City Councilor and a member of Governor Deval Patrick's Asian American Commission. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Rob.
We appreciate it.
Certainly. Well, we will jump right into things here. The first topic we'd like to talk about is something that's very important here in Western Massachusetts. It's on everybody's radar. It is the casino situation, the casino law. So in 2011, the legislature passed a law expanding casino gaming in Massachusetts to allow for the licensing of up to 3 resort-style casinos and 1 slots parlor. We already have the slots parlor license, and that's under construction in Plainville, and MGM's proposed Springfield Casino has already been approved by the Gaming Commission here. A ballot question appearing on the November ballot has the potential to repeal the entire law. So basically, we'd like to know where each of you stand in regards to the repeal effort, and if you are elected and the ballot question comes down in the way that doesn't jive with your beliefs, will you respect the will of the voters or still fight for your thoughts on this topic? And for this one, Steve, we'll just start with you.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for having us. Thanks to Channel 3 and to the Republican for hosting us. You know, this one is an easy one for me. I've been clear for the majority of this campaign that I'll vote against the repeal. And I'm going to do that not just because I don't think it's fair to cities like Springfield and others, but and it's not really for me about gaming. It's not a gaming issue for me. It's about competitiveness and our ability to drive economic development and growth here. You know, as you stated, this is a bill that was passed in 2011, but this was being discussed years before that, debated in the public sphere, was introduced in the legislature, passed, debated, signed by the governor. We're years down the road of implementing it, and I frankly think it sends the wrong message competitively and for economic development to repeal it at this time. I think our energy should be focused on making sure that we maximize the benefit of economic development in cities like Springfield and all across Massachusetts so that we can create real jobs and give folks here an opportunity who desperately need the real hardworking jobs, not just in construction, but in working in and around the casino and the ancillary businesses that will grow up around it. I mean, Springfield needs an opportunity to decide its own future, and I don't see why the 350 other communities should be able to tell them what they should do for economic development in their downtown.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mike, topic of casino gaming.
Yes, well, I'm proud to say I've been the most progressive candidate in this race, and this is one example where I stand out. I have been against the casinos from the very beginning of this discussion. In 2010, I was the only candidate who stood up in the Democratic primary to stand against casinos, and I have not wavered on my position. The reason is we have heard, as Mr. Kerrigan just said, this false impression that casinos are the answer to our economic development challenges in Massachusetts. I couldn't disagree more. In fact, when you look at the data that was researched by sources that were not paid for by the gaming industry itself, then you learn that within a radius around casinos, unemployment actually increases by 25%. We see an increase in foreclosures. Mom and pop businesses go out of business. People lose their jobs. That's the long-term impact of casinos. Now, I do agree that we need to create jobs in Massachusetts. We need to create jobs that pay a livable wage. The majority of jobs at a casino pay less than $27,000 a year. That's not a livable wage in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So we can do better. And I applaud people like my former boss, President Clinton, who commissioned one of those studies that was not funded by the gaming industry to talk about the true impact of casinos in our communities.
Gotcha. Mike, thank you. Leland, topic of casino gaming. Yep. Where do you come down on this?
So the reality is this will be decided by the time I take office, if I'm elected as your lieutenant governor. And political strategists have recommended staying out, because I think the same thing is going to be true on casinos as it is in casinos. No one wins by betting against the house. I've actually published an extensive report on my website, lelandcheung.com/casinos, with references and links that I encourage people to check out. But I have five issues with casinos, and frankly, I didn't get into this race to just toe the party line. I got in to try and make a difference in people's lives. The reality is casinos, none of them are owned by firms in state, which means the profits are going out of state. We've seen before the casinos come into a community with great hope, only to decimate the local businesses around them as people go in and don't come back out. I don't think the profits are going to be there to pay mitigation funds to host communities or employ locals. We've already seen casinos in other states shutting down. We've already seen that plans from other casinos in other states to try and mitigate any benefit or any revenue that Massachusetts might take. And frankly, as the only minority, in any ethnic minority in any race for any position in the Senate, and as an Asian American, I have to point out that Asian Americans, first-generation Americans, minorities are disproportionately targeted for then have devastating gambling addictions. And we cannot build an economy of the future if we're taking advantage of those that have the least to give today. And sound, progressive policy, economic growth doesn't have to come on the backs of those who are down on their luck at the casino, but on those that we lifted up. And I'll make the same promise to every community that's hoping for a casino, and every person. If casinos are rejected, I will work tirelessly to make sure that we can bring enough companies and enough jobs to create the same amount of development that would have occurred had we brought in casinos.
Gotcha. And just in the same vein, so let's say you are elected, despite your opposition to casinos, if the law is upheld, where would you come down on this? Would you stay out of the conversation around casinos? Would you fight against them as they're working to open? Let's say you're elected and it comes down the opposite of your beliefs.
Well,
and what have you.
Like I said, I'm morally opposed to casinos. I think there's a better path forward for Massachusetts. But I'm also on the Cambridge City Council. I'm the only person currently elected who's in this race for lieutenant governor. And on the Cambridge City Council, there was a vote that I was against that came up to say Cambridge is against casinos. I was against that because my end goal is benefiting the residents. And I wanted to make sure that if a casino happens in Revere or in a community near Cambridge, that we still get some mitigation funds to work on our infrastructure to help people that they're most in need in our community.
Gotcha. And Mike, if you're elected and the casino law is upheld, paint the scenario for me of what happens then with you in regards to your beliefs in casinos.
Yeah, well, I mean, my beliefs are my personal beliefs, and when the people of Massachusetts speak, we need to listen. That's the way I look at this job. I mean, this is the point of a representative government. But I disagree with Mr. Kerrigan that I believe we should be putting the people of Massachusetts first, not the corporations in Massachusetts first. So there is a clear distinction here, and I'm proud to say that I have been consistent on this from the very beginning and have not changed my position depending on which part of the state I'm speaking in.
So you'd respect the will of the voters?
Correct.
That's what you're saying. Okay. Steve, if you're elected and casino gaming is rejected, what would have you then?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, our number one focus as a government should be on creating stronger economy here in Massachusetts, growing jobs that don't just exist inside Boston and inside 128. I'm the only candidate, since everybody up here is doing the only candidate lines, I'm the only candidate who actually lives west of 128, not just in this race, but in any competitive race on a Democratic primary. And I think that speaks to something, not just to where I was born and where I've chosen to live with my partner, but really the values that folks out here in Western Mass and Central Mass share, that we want to make sure that our economies are built all across Massachusetts. And it isn't just about Boston dictating what we can do out here. And I would work with the next governor to make sure that we continue to grow jobs as much as we can. This is for me, it's about giving people an opportunity to shape their own future and grow jobs in their community. And I want to be the lieutenant governor who will help the next governor do that.
Gotcha. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We will switch gears a little bit. Another Western Massachusetts issue, but a little farther from casinos. It is the topic of the Kinder Morgan, Tennessee natural gas pipeline. So basically, Kinder Morgan is working to get approval for a natural gas pipeline expansion, which would cut through the Northeast, and parts of this are slated to be in Worcester, Franklin, and Berkshire counties. Since this project was first announced, it's been very contentious. There's been a lot of people coming out in support of it, a lot of people coming out in opposition. Basically, we'd like to know, what your take is on this project, and if elected, would you advocate for either its completion or demise, one way or another. And Leland, we can start with you on this one.
Yeah. I don't know what playbook you're coming from, but this was actually the second question, same first two questions the Pioneer Valley building trades asked me before they endorsed my candidacy for lieutenant governor right here in Springfield. Was about the Kinder Morgan pipeline. And I gave the same answer at casinos, and I gave the same answer on the Kinder Morgan pipeline, which is that it is not good for the Commonwealth. I used to work at the Department of Energy in ARPA-E, which was the venture capital arm of the DOE that was investing in cutting edge technology, really like you spray paint a window and it turns into a solar cell. Crazy cool stuff. But what was even more impressive was how much of it was coming out of Massachusetts. Innovation is not just MIT, across the entire state, across our entire college system. There was the innovation, the future is being created right here in Massachusetts when it comes to clean tech, putting more renewables onto the grid, reducing our carbon emissions. And that is where the future of economic growth in Massachusetts lies. I would hate to see happen in clean tech, what happened to IT, what happened to venture capital. It starts here and then goes somewhere else. We have an opportunity if we build on that, and the reality is that every investment we make in fossil fuel technology is a bet against our own economic future. That's not the way that we're going to grow. That's not the way we're going to be successful. That's not the way we're going to create jobs for people today and for our generation from now.
Thank you. Mike, on this topic, the Tennessee natural gas pipeline, where do you come down?
This one I can be very brief and say that I oppose it. I oppose it because I just don't think it's good for our environment. I don't think it's the right direction for Massachusetts. Massachusetts, as it has done in life sciences, has the opportunity to be a world leader in clean and renewable energies. That's where we should be investing. I mean, when you look at some of the early maps of the pipeline proposal, and we have the pipeline going right through a reservoir here in Western Mass. I mean, it just does not make sense for the Commonwealth, and I've been opposing it from the very beginning.
Thank you. Steve, where do you come down on this? Yes, Tennessee natural gas pipeline, Kinder Morgan.
I have grave concerns about it, and not just about the pipeline, and frankly, all of the things that these gentlemen have said about our need to invest in renewable energies, which I think Governor Patrick has done an incredible job on, and Massachusetts can be a leader not just in this country but in the world on those. And I want us to stay focused on it. But it's got to be a part of a larger energy policy that includes, when I was in the Attorney General's office, we worked with the other regional governors and attorneys general to sign up to RGGI and make sure we were focused on greenhouse gas emissions and really coming up with regional policies that impacted it. We as part of that, we sued the George W. Bush EPA and won in the United States Supreme Court on the issue of climate change. And I was proud to be in the court that day when that case was argued. But I've been saying from the very beginning about Kinder Morgan, I'm very concerned about it. I'm concerned about how we found out about it. The fact that private landowners were the ones who raised the flag. I look forward to seeing the filing at FERC, which will come in September. But the important thing is that our federal partners, and I've talked to Congressman McGovern and others about this, they are stepping up and talking to FERC about this and weighing their concerns in. That's where the decision can really get made. We have very little impact here in Massachusetts. We've got to do the things that we're talking about in terms of building a strong economy around green technology and other things and greening our economy. But we also have to make sure that we're building an energy system that won't allow for brownouts and blackouts and that provide much needed energy resources to folks all across Massachusetts. And I'll tell you as Lieutenant Governor, I'll work with the next governor. If this is moving forward, we will work and use Chapter 97 to make sure that the pipeline is not impacting our conservation land and any of the other agricultural lands that we can protect under state law, but our capability to stop it is very limited, other than working with our federal partners to stop it. But regardless of that, we've got to move forward on a smart, strong energy plan.
Gotcha. Gentlemen, thank you. So we have unanimous opposition to the Kinder Morgan pipeline. Thank you. We're going to take a short break here, and we'll be back in a moment.